we have a a new a new motto that our wing commander Colonel Bell came up with recently, called "Get Your Wings Up," and that is his message to our installation, to our community, that he wants individuals to develop holistically. He believes in comprehensive airman fitness, so the mental, physical, social, and spiritual. That airman that works on themselves comprehensively so that they can bring their best selves to the fight every single day. So when I say something like "Get your wings up," how do you internalize that?
I think it's good. I think it's a step in the right direction. I would make one little tweak, which is get our wings up. Let's get our wings up, because get your wings up makes it about you, an individual. Like, you have to get your wings up. It's your responsibility to get your wings up. Hey, airmen, get your wings up, right? As opposed to let's get our wings up. Like, we're in it together. You know, I'm a big fan of we instead of you. You know what you should do versus you know what we can do. You know what we should do. You should work out more. We should all work out more. You know, I think we messages are more inclusive, and let's get our wings up, I think, is a fantastic message, and it's not about you getting your wings up. It's about you helping another airman get their wings up, and you make getting your wings up an act of service. Like, what can you do to help a fellow airman get their wings up? Right? Let's get our wings up. So everybody's responsible for helping their fellow airmen thrive, rather than you're solely responsible for your mental, spiritual, physical health. It becomes a unit.
Something that we did as an Air Force a few months ago was we did a resilience tactical pause, and that was when the number of deaths by suicide were at about 40 less than we have now. And for about 45 days, everyone in the Air Force was directed 100% to get in a small group and to talk about what was going on in their lives, to talk about the issues they were facing, and to just kind of create belongingness, cultivate resilience. And we did that for that 45-day period. And since then, we still continue to lose airmen. And like you said, it's not going to get fixed overnight. It's not going to fix next month or maybe even next year. It's going to take systemic change. So something that I've noticed is that there's maybe a lot of cynicism, a lot of people that feel jaded, that something like a resilience tactical pause is just another check the box exercise. When, we talked about this before we started, I really believe that the Chief of Staff of the Air Force, General Goldfein, is very much bought into the idea of like, hey, this stuff really matters, that we build that connection, that we work on that history, that we learn it together. So how do you get people to not be cynical about it, to believe that, hey, these leaders at the topmost levels, they believe it, I believe it, and we speak that language every day?
Well, consistency. I mean, first of all, they're right to be cynical. The number of online trainings they've had to do in reaction to something that happened in the Air Force is prohibitive. All the forces. It's not just the Air Force. Something happened, everybody has to do an online training. That is check the box. And online training is not going to solve this problem. But I do think exercise is where we come together and we have forced to share with each other. We're in environments where amongst our peers and sometimes our superiors, we're sharing things that are hard for us. I have a kid who's struggling at school, and it hurts me every day to see it happen. Like, for people to share their humanity, not just, it's a machismo environment, and there's great data on this. There was a case study called the Shell Ursa in the 1980s, which was a huge big oil rig owned by Shell, and in order to reduce accidents and deaths on the thing, they took a very, very unconventional approach to building the team, which is they spent a year with the crew of the Ursa sitting around talking about personal stuff, and people were forced to open up and tell each other, what we struggle with. You're really stubborn, and people are forced to just listen and say, tell me more. There's tears. These are roughnecks. This is one of the most dangerous jobs in the world. This is more machismo than machismo, And showing any kind of weakness, emotional weakness, is equated to is physical weakness. So it's always tough guy stuff. Turns out they're all big softies, and they all have insecurities and fears, and they were forced to share them. What they discovered after that is the more emotionally vulnerable they were able to make themselves amongst their own crew, the more they were willing to ask for help on the rig, because they no longer feared being seen as weak when they said, hey, I'm struggling, can you help me with this? That went away. Safety and accidents and deaths sort of had one of the, if not the best safety record in all of Shell. And their productivity was beat all targets, because the crew came together as a crew first. And their willingness to be physically, emotionally vulnerable with each other translated into their willingness to be, to express fear or ask for help on the job. So if it's just another online training, yes, agreed. That is just checking the box. But if these resiliency things where it's human interaction are consistent and it's not just one-off stuff, there's going to be a lot of people who are cynical. They have good reason to be cynical. And only consistency will make them start to believe, okay, this is not a one-off thing. This is for real. And eventually they'll let their guards down. So consistency is king.
Consistency. Okay. So I think I have one final question. So we talked about the consistency. We talked about the removal of as many devices, less emails, talking about struggles, looking out for the people to the left of you and to the right of you. Are there any other things that we could do? I mean, what could I go back and do tomorrow in my unit with the people that I work with in order to help create that environment where people belong? I mean, other than just walking the walk, just doing this.
All the best leaders I've ever met, military or private sector, are students of leadership. They're obsessed with the subject. They read books, they watch talks, they read articles, and they talk to each other. And they're insatiably curious about the topic of leadership. Almost all the people that I've ever written about in any of my books, no matter how senior or how accomplished, they're absolutely unbelievably curious about what other people are doing and how they can up their game. And they see themselves as works in progress. I've never met a great leader who thinks of themselves as great leaders. They think of themselves as students of leadership, and they're working really hard to be even better. Anybody who says, I think I know what I'm doing, I look at my rank, I think I know what I'm doing, they think they know everything, as opposed to always room for improvement. I've accomplished a lot, I know a lot, but I'm still on a journey. And I think that the best leaders are in constant growth mode. Just as they're trying to help their airmen grow, they themselves are trying to grow. Just as they offer their mentorship to young airmen, they actually want to learn from young airmen. They want to learn from their peers. They want to learn from their superiors. So I think being a student of leadership and in a mindset of constant education and constant growth is the thing.
I think that's about all the questions that I had specifically related to that. Any other parting words or messages to airmen out there?
It's an amazing opportunity to join an organization where you are required to take care of each other. Nobody joined up to get rich. We know that. I've met folks in the military who said that this is their get rich slow plan. Nobody signed up to get rich. Nobody signed up to get famous. Many people start to believe and think of it as a calling, a compulsion, like this is what I'm meant to do. All the benefits of all the work are always for someone else. It's a life of service, and it's not just in the service. It's not just service to one's nation. Literally, other human beings will be the primary beneficiaries of all your hard work. And that's an amazing thing. That's an amazing thing. And to allow people to see the benefits of their work, to let them meet the people who are beneficiaries of their work, reminds us that our work matters. I love spending time with folks in military, and Air Force discovered me before anybody else. I've had a relationship with the Air Force going back to 2006. And I just keep meeting people who inspire me, quite frankly. And it's not just words on a page. And so I think to spend time with the people you admire or you look up to, I think young airmen have an opportunity to go out of their way to meet folks, especially in the Air Force, where the opportunity for enlisted and to talk to their senior NGOs or enlisted to talk to their officers is a little more open than in some of the other forces. To say, hey sir, hey ma'am, can I ask you a question? Like, the answer is almost always yes. It's kind of an amazing thing, the Air Force, that kind of culture. It's a culture of innovation. It's a culture of ideas, and I would go to young airmen and especially the ones who have friends who are struggling. Like, what can we do to help them? Like, what can we ask them, rather than us coming up with all the solutions? Let's work together. Not that they have all the solutions, but I think if we work together, I think we can probably do something amazing.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time. I think this is going to be a very powerful message for the Air Force.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. It was a real pleasure. Thank you very much.